everyone, welcome back to the podcast A Girl's Guide to the Music Business, the place where we celebrate women who work in the music industry with me, your host, Shay Green. From live events to publishing, we are giving you the ins and outs of what it's like to be a woman in music, with helpful advice given along the way.
A quick disclaimer, we had some technical issues this episode and therefore audio quality is not completely up to our How Does She Do It standards, but we hope you enjoy the episode equally as the others. On today's episode, we have promoter and show rapper Holly Cook. While she was at university, she worked on great projects like Rocktail Riot, which sparked her interest in promotions. She also speaks about her new adventures since leaving university. As always, I had a lovely time having her on the show, and we'd love to know what you thought about today's discussion. You can find How Does She Do It on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at How Does She Do It Pod. Thank you for listening, and on with the episode.
Right, welcome to the show, Holly. How are you?
I'm very good. How are you?
Yeah, good, thank you. So we'll get started with it, and just tell us where your journey in the music industry started and kind of where you are with it now.
It was way back before I even started at uni. I worked with a guy who ran an indie club night called Home Slice in Suburbia, and my partner was DJing for them at the time, and I started working on the door, and it evolved from that. So I went from doors to running the night to then the night disbanded, and then my boyfriend still wanted to DJ because he has an ego, and that's how we started Rocktail Riot, and it was it took off from there. We started at the Star, and then we managed to get into a different city in Reading, and then we did Pop World and all these sorts of things. So yeah, and then I got my job at the Joiners, so it was really cool.
Amazing. Cool, so now it's time for the awkward scenario. So this is where we give the listeners you'll give them an awkward scenario, and they'll find out at the end of the show how you resolved it and what the answer to it is. So Take it away.
So it's not really music related, but in second year of uni, where I was doing a project with a girl, and it's not that we didn't get along, both of us have very similar personalities, and so that clashed, and we both wanted to take over the project, and we're both quite strong-head like people and leaders, and so it just went a bit tits up, and my poor other friend in the group was just left like in the middle of it whilst we weren't like explicitly arguing, but it was very hard to work together, and it just wasn't great.
Yeah, that definitely sounds like a awkward scenario.
It was very awkward, and then to have the lecturers as well, they had to get involved because the project just wasn't moving as smoothly as it should be, and not great.
So, listeners, you will find out at the end of the show how Holly managed to resolve her awkward scenario, but we shall carry on with the questions for now.
Amazing.
So, you've mentioned about projects like Rocktail Riot, so it'd be great to know a little bit more how you came about Rocktail Riot and how it progressed and what skills you also learnt from it.
Yeah, so I think it was a really spur of the moment thing. My partner wanted to have his own brand, but it was trying to find a brand that worked for us, a name and things like that. But it started, they needed a DJ to cover at the Star, and the guy, Jamal, jumped in. That's my partner's name, by the way. And so he jumped in, and the guy who ran the pub was just so impressed by what he did. He was like, I want you to have a weekly night here. And so that's how it all started. It was, and then for some reason, my partner just has this, he just loves to think about things in the future. So he had already had a name picked out for prior to even doing the night. And then I taught myself how to graphic design as well for that. So I did all of the artwork. I did all of those. Yeah, it was a lot, but it was great. And and then it started off, I think the first 3 to 6 months were completely dead. It was really quiet, and it was just, we felt like it was going nowhere. And then all of a sudden, I think this group of people came out, and it's just it's word of mouth. Word of mouth is amazing. And then we started to have really, really busy nights, and my partner was making a lot more money from it as well, so it meant that we could invest it. And in doing so, we ended up working with a lot of bands. I think one of the first bands we ever worked with was Attila.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Yeah, so they came down. They had a show at Engine Rooms and came down. I invited them on a whim, not expecting them to come down. And I was like, oh, we can get you some drinks and things like that. And they were like, oh yeah, absolutely, we'd love to come down. And then after that, it was just like we worked with a hell of a lot more bands. So we worked with Creeper as well. That they were incredible. They're so lovely. And there was a lot of stuff to do because I was doing it with uni as well, like alongside uni, and it was just a hell of a lot. But I learnt a lot of skills. I learnt how to look after a night, which helps with what I do now, and obviously graphic design as well. So yeah.
Yeah, amazing. It does sound like a very fine balance between education and running a business.
Yeah, we were running a business. At first I was like, oh, it's not a business, I just can go get drunk every week and I get discount and stuff like that. But it got to the point where it was like, okay, this is actually a business now. I have to start taking it seriously. So yeah, it was good fun though.
Yeah, amazing. Sounds like a really, really good business that you had running. And like, it's nice to hear that word of mouth gained its popularity.
Honestly, I think that above anything else was probably our best marketing strategy, just to have a lot of the local emos they would come and they'd be like, oh, this is really good. And at the time we were the only weekday alt night in Southampton, so that as well like worked in our favour as well. So yeah.
So you kind of seen that you've recently done a slight shift from promotions to show repping. How have you found it and what kind of made you go for the change?
It's not actually too dissimilar to what I was doing. I was looking after Rocktail Riot on a weekly basis. The only difference is that I don't have to deal with my partner, but I just have to deal with bands now, which is, not great, but it's, that some of them can be lovely, some of them can be arseholes, but it was very much a last minute, well, not a last minute change. It was so Ricky, who runs the Joiners, he messaged me and he was like, we have a job going, did you want it? I didn't even ask what the job was. I was like, yep. It could have been bar work, not even trained on bar, but I was like, yeah, absolutely, let's go for it. And so I met him and he was like, oh, this is what you'll be doing. And and I was like, do you know what, I've done half of that already at Rocktail Riot. Why the hell not go and work at one of the most iconic music venues? So yeah.
It's really great to hear that you kind of just took an opportunity as it was offered to you. How did you kind of build that relationship to Ricky at the Joiners?
So I met him when I was 14. I first started going to shows at the Joiners when I was really, really young. And he's a lot of, well, he's going to be so rude if so offended if he hears this. He's not a lot older than me, but at the time I was first going to shows, he was putting on shows himself, and I went to a lot of the local shows rather than the bigger shows. And so I'd see him around, and it was both like familiar faces, and we like said hello to each other. And then it wasn't really until I think it was prior to starting to Rocktail Riot that we really got to know each other. And I think he'd just seen what I did with Rocktail Riot. We'd worked with him before as well, with the company. And I ended up getting to know him on quite a friendly basis, and he clearly trusted to give me a job. So yeah. Yeah,
that's really cool. Like, a common theme we've had throughout talking on this podcast with previous interviewees is networking and like how fundamental it is. And obviously, if you hadn't networked with Ricky, you may have not be doing the job that you are now.
I definitely wouldn't be doing the job, so it's just so like key. And I know the lecturers will say it as well, drum it into you, network, like really networking is the way to go in this industry.
Yeah. So the next question is, in the live music or kind of promotion sector, do you find there's kind of a gender bias going on, or have you, as your experience has been slightly different?
With my only other issue has been with tour managers and agents. I've never really had any direct issues with bands. They've always been lovely. There was one band, actually, I lie. They made me feel, they never did anything like directly to me, but when you can just get a vibe off someone, and they just made me so uncomfortable. And but yeah, the same band, their tour manager was I think it was my first ever show repping job with the Joiners, and he like the tour manager came in and he was like, oh, where's the show rep today? Introduced myself. I was like, hi, yeah, it's me, hello, like if you have any questions, like just let me know. I know what I'm doing. I absolutely did not know what I was doing, but you know,
Fake it till you make it.
Absolutely. And he just looked me up and down. He was like, oh, you're a woman. And I was like, oh, I love it, good start. But yeah, and then the band also made me feel horrifically uncomfortable. And I usually stay for the show, but I was like, I am dipping as soon as it's like starting. So, but yeah, otherwise, it's typically are really lovely. But it's just,
you do have those odd experiences though, don't you? Like the one you've just said.
Yeah.
And it's just having, especially if that was like one of your first show repping.
It was, yeah. I'm surprised I like continued with it, but I was like, I'm just going to get a lot of this in the industry, I think. Yeah. Just get used to it.
Taking it, unfortunately, yeah, it's like you do get those people take it on the chin and push through, and then you get all the lovely bands and tour managers.
Yeah, I've had some really, really lovely bands that I've dealt with that have been so lovely. And but yeah, there was another agent that into it like told me, he asked me a question and he literally got to the end of the question and I went to answer him and he literally went, I wasn't done. And I was like, you fucking were though. But yeah.
Yeah, I don't get why people feel the need to be like that, but you know, sure.
It's arrogance.
Yeah.
It is. Because they think they're better than you. But.
Yeah. Amazing. So we've kind of spoken a little bit about like challenges you've had to overcome, but is there any more that you can think off the top of your head that you've kind of pushed through, and how did you do it?
If I'm honest, it's just like comments from tour managers and stuff that is the hardest thing. Like Ricky has been amazing. He doesn't treat me any differently. To be fair, nobody in the 1865 or the joiners treats me any differently. Like, as much, I was saying the other day, I was like, I kind of wish Ricky treated me differently sometimes, because when he asked me to go down to the cellar and lug up massive like crates of beer for the band, I'm like, I don't really want to do that, and I've got no strength anyway. But I'm glad that he doesn't treat me any differently. But other than that, like, I don't think there's been like massive challenges that I've had to overcome, just comments like that. Yeah, absolutely. But it's really good to hear like in-house venues are supportive, they are kind of just treat everyone equally and don't discriminate. No, like joiners especially are. Not that 1865 aren't incredible, but joiners, I think, because they were my first like proper job. Yeah. I've got a special place in my heart for them.
Yeah, the nostalgia of it.
Yeah, and you know, I used to go there as a kid, and they're a good venue.
Cool. So, do you also feel like women in the music industry and in the promotion sector get enough kind of support financially and with like a work-life balance?
In terms of pay, I've not seen it myself, because I get paid exactly the same as my male colleagues. But, you know, I did my whole dissertation on women in live music and the difference in pay and things like that. And yeah, I mean, I know for a fact that there is a pay difference between genders, and there's not enough support for women at all, I don't think. When I told Ricky these things, like the comments that had been made to me, he was like a little bit shocked, but not. I think he was shocked because he's had a couple other women in my position, and I obviously don't know their experiences because I know them fairly well, but not well enough to be like, oh, did they say this to you? Yeah. But yeah, he's good at like nipping it in the bud, so it's nice to have. I shouldn't have to rely on a guy to be like, you shouldn't be saying this, but it is good to have someone to have my back. But yeah,
I think it's really important, like why we highlight these issues though, about even though you haven't personally experienced the financial inequality, that we just make as many people aware that it is.
Yeah, just because I haven't experienced it myself doesn't mean it's not a thing at all.
Yeah,
so, yeah,
absolutely. And how do you feel in terms of like work-life balance in the live sector?
There is none. you live and breathe live music if you do it, and I personally do it for, you know, it's a decent amount of money I get, but it's not enough to live on. Yeah. But yeah, there's no work-life balance. I know for a fact that Ricky doesn't have a work-life balance at all, because he's doing 10 times the amount that I'm doing, and yeah, if you go out to the gig that you're working. That's just how you do it.
Yeah, so if you're going into the live sector, it's just, that's what you commit yourself to.
Yeah, like it's so difficult trying to keep my relationship going with my current partner. You know, we've been together for 5 years, which means that he's incredibly understanding of everything. But yeah, it's a nightmare.
A lot of work.
It is a lot of work, but it's so rewarding and it's fun work, which is I think is why people continue with it for so long, because it's so fun.
Yeah, absolutely. It'd be great to know as well if you do have any like words of advice for our listeners out there trying to get into the live sector, show repping, promotions, anything like that.
Definitely network, like I said previously, and as well just go for it. If somebody offers you an opportunity, just take it. I spent like my first and I think second year, I was offered opportunities, but I was like so hesitant and I didn't have belief in myself, and it wasn't until like third year that I got there and I was just like, why am I doubting myself? I'm literally never going to get anywhere if I'm just going to be like, oh no, I can't do it. Like, just go for it.
Yeah, networking is such a common theme. I think most conversations people have in the music industry is like network. You must network.
Unfortunately, you don't get a job just on your ability these days. It's especially in this industry, it's what you know, who you know. You know, if you're in the right place at the right time, then you get the job. Like, it's really unfortunate that it's that way, because I imagine there are some people out there who have got incredible abilities but are just not networking to get themselves a job. Yeah,
100%. And obviously what you said as well, like just putting yourself out there, even if you're not too sure, you know, go for it. I mean, like, especially if you're offered certain jobs like you were, they wouldn't have asked if they didn't think that you were like qualified enough for it.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even get like, there wasn't a job offer going at the 1865. I inquired about it, so I sent an email and I was proactive about it, which is why I got that second job as well. So
yeah, amazing. It's really good to hear like your words of advice of how to get into that sector and being proactive with it all.
Yeah,
amazing. So now it's time for me to give you the question that our previous interviewee will have written. I'm just got bear with me. I'm fiddling to try and find it. Yeah, there we go. So here you go. Here's the question.
Okay.
So let's have a look. So the question is, what is your proudest moment?
Probably working with Creeper. It has to be. Yeah, we did. They did a 4-night residency at the Joiners, and one night we did a official after party for them, and they came down and they DJ'd for us, and they were just so easy to work with and just so lovely as well. And they're mine and my partner's like favourite band. So to have them come and work with us was just incredible. And they would. It was we'd hit capacity by I think it was 11. So it was a busy night as well, chaotic night, but it was just one of the most rewarding nights ever. So
sounds like an incredible proud moment.
Just incredible. Like, it was one of the first bands me and my partner went to see together. So then to have like this full circle moment of like working with them and them coming to our night was just amazing.
Yeah, incredible. Amazing. Now it's time for you to write a question.
Okay.
For the next interviewee. So if I give you paper and pen, I will look away. And then just write out whatever you would like to. Amazing. So now you've done all the questions for us. You've written a new question. And it's time for the awkward scenario answer. So how did you fix your problems?
I ended up leaving the group. But I think that was probably the most sensible decision we could have made. I ended up I finished the project, actually. We did finish the project, which in itself was an achievement. And then it was really weird. It was like 2 projects within one. Yeah. So I did the first part of the project with the previous group, with the girl that I didn't get along with. And then I just completely switched groups. I was like, this is the only way that it's going to be fair for everybody else. Because I was like, I'm making it awful to work like with. The other girl, what she was actually really mature about it. I will give her that. But it's not that I wasn't. I was just, we're just very stubborn, both of us.
Yeah.
And so I ended up switching group. And then it got to the end of uni, and it was literally our night out in graduation, and we were both really drunk. And as always, we were in the girls' toilets where everything happens, and I was talking to her, and I was like, God, why did we even fall out? Like, what was that even all about? And we ended up making up, and now we're actually quite good friends, which is really nice. So.
Oh, that's really good. It's nice to hear like a nice positive ending to the story.
Yeah, no, she's lovely. Like, and I don't know why. I think we both just got both of us like the stubbornness got to the both of us, and yeah, we're both just very headstrong, and we wanted to be leaders, and it just didn't work out. So
yeah, and that happens, but like it's good. You overcame it, made up, and yeah.
It was a very good learning lesson for life. You just have to, if you don't like someone, you just gotta suck it up. And just get on with it. Yeah,
exactly. But I can imagine as well, like the build up of uni, and then like obviously on graduation night out, it was like, well, we're done with this now, so there's no reason to have any conflict or anything like that.
It was yeah.
Yeah.
Uni's exhausting, and having 3 years, especially with COVID in the middle of it as well. Like, I think it was just the whole build up of COVID, and we were all stressed because we couldn't go out. We were all stressed because we had assignments, and then it was literally like we just let our hair down on graduation night out, and that's it. We were no worries anymore. It was all good.
Yeah, amazing. So that does bring us now towards the end of the show.
Amazing.
So, yeah, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, it's been great. So, yeah, lovely. Thank you. We have now reached the end of our show. Thank you all for watching and listening. Do make sure you come back for the rest of the episodes, a new one dropping every other week. We'd love to know your thoughts and feelings about today's discussion. You can find How Does She Do It on Instagram, TikTok and YouTube at How Does She Do It Pod. Let's all celebrate the great women shaping the music business. From us here at How Does She Do It, see you soon for another exciting episode.